Hi, I'm Jackie from Early Retirement Wanderlust, and surprise, it's me doing the Wellbeing Thursday for a change. In this video, I want to talk about 2 challenges that I set myself at the beginning of every year that help keep me healthy, they keep me fit, and they give me that element of challenge to keep my mind active. So if you're a regular viewer of the channel, you'll know that on the first Thursday of every month we put out a wellbeing video, and it's usually Richard that does it. Sadly, this month we're a little bit late because when we were in Thailand our computer completely died and we are still on catch up of all our recordings. This month it's me that's doing it because in January I did some goal setting and I set myself 2 challenges, and I've been asked a lot about how I use my watch to collect the data and how I organise the challenge. The 2 challenges that I do, one is to climb the equivalent of Mount Everest 4 times within a calendar year, and that is a height of 35,396 metres of elevation, which is no small feat, and I really have to work at that. And the second challenge is to try and keep my footsteps up to over 300,000 per month, which is an average of 10,000 a day. Something that I realised when we are not on the road and when we're not in the van is that we sit around quite a lot in the cottage, and it's quite hard when it's cold and windy to get yourself motivated to go outside. So just setting that little bit of a challenge helps me be active, get outdoors and just enjoy what's around us as well. So some of you might ask, why do I set myself these 2 challenges? And I do it every year. And the main reason is there are just so many benefits to keeping yourself active. So I guess the obvious place to start with me doing these challenges is the health benefits that it gives me. Firstly, it increases my cardiovascular fitness. It helps increase my flexibility and mobility getting around. And ultimately, hopefully, it will give me a longevity in my life. But actually for me, more important than the health benefits is probably the impact that it has on my mental health. Just getting out into the open and walking and being active and taking in the views of the countryside instantly improves my mood. It helps reduce anxiety. If I've been mulling anything over, I just get myself out for a walk, do my 10,000 steps, and by the time I've come back, hopefully I've mulled things over and I'm feeling less anxious again. And then it's just that general feeling of the challenge giving me a sense of purpose. I'm constantly every month thinking, right, have I done my steps? Do I need to get out and do a few more steps? Have I got some more elevation to do? And it just keeps me thinking about being active. And then finally, there's the social aspects. As myself and Richard share the same goal, it's great that we can get out as a couple and we do things together. It's fab that our family are very active as well, so we will get out with friends and family and just be out in the great outdoors. And I love the fact that it's just a really achievable challenge to do, both of them. You don't need any specialist equipment, you just need to have a pair of shoes that you're comfortable and you can get out into the great outdoors. So first of all, what actually is the Everest Challenge? It's something that I saw in Trail magazine probably about 7 or 8 years ago, and it really interested me that they have a monthly update and a Facebook page that you can connect on, that people challenge themselves to climb the equivalent of Mount Everest, which is 8,849 metres within a year. And in that first year I set myself the challenge, and actually I'd done the goal by April, so I quickly realised that I could increase that challenge and set a more achievable target for our level of activity and fitness. When myself and Richard did our goal setting videos earlier in the year, I was asked quite a lot about the challenge, and it's great. It's a really accessible challenge that anybody could have a go at. You just need to have a comfortable pair of shoes. I do have a watch, a Garmin watch, that will help me work out how much elevation I have done in any of my walks, and that's it. As part of the challenge, you do need a way of tracking your elevation, and there are 2 main ways you can do that. I used to do it just with my iPhone. If it's in my pocket and I set it on the Strava walk, it will do my elevation for me. But we actually use watches, smart watches, and ours are Garmin, very basic, very old watches that will just set a hike on it and it will give us our elevation at the end of the walk. We absolutely love our Garmin watches. They are bomb-proof. The battery lasts on them forever. We probably only have to charge them every couple of weeks. If we do a lot of hikes when we're out in the van, we might have to charge it just a little bit more. And these ones were really quite cheap. We actually bought them when we were in Chamonix 5 years ago, and they've been really durable. It works really well. It was no more than £200, and we wouldn't be without them. I'm a bit of a data geek, and the way this works, I literally just set on my watch when I'm setting off a hike. It will track everything that I've done. It tracks my footsteps, it tracks the distance, it tracks the elevation, it tells me my heart rate, and all of that data will jump across to my phone onto the Garmin Connect app. Now, I'm not a massive fan of the Garmin Connect app. Richard quite likes it. He likes the way the data is presented, but I've connected my Garmin Connect app to Strava, and all of that information jumps straight across to Strava. And I find that really intuitive, just to work out what I've done, where I've been, how high I've climbed, and I like the little maps that go with it. And I think that's just personal preference. But once I'm on Strava, I can go onto the app and I can work out either weekly or monthly how much elevation I have gained. And I track it probably every month. I will go in and have a look and just see. And I roughly want to do about 3,000 metres of elevation a month. Some months in the winter, we probably do less. Some months in the summer, June this year, we did nearly 8,000 metres of elevation, kind of balances it all out. As I said earlier, we started this challenge quite a few years ago, and we set ourselves the challenge of just doing one Mount Everest in the year, and we did it quite quickly. And we have gradually increased ourselves to the point where we now try and do 4 Everests within a year. And that's probably quite easy for us now to set that challenge because we live in the Yorkshire Dales. We've got the mountains at our doorstep. I can get 300 metres of elevation just walking 3 or 4 miles from our front door. But when we were in Cheshire, we still set ourselves that challenge, and it's still really achievable. We'd just go out in the van, we would go out for weekend hikes, and the elevation soon mounted up. We track the amount of elevation that we do all year. Every time we just go for a walk, wherever we are, we just set our watches and it will do all of the calculations for us. We don't particularly need to do anything special. We do a lot of hiking as part of our early retirement. It's part of why we retired. We wanted to get out there into the great outdoors. So when we're out and about in the van, it's really easy to get the elevation going out into the mountains, but equally just going out for a gentle evening walk for a mile up the road all adds to those little bits of elevation. We know that in some months the elevation gain will be quite limited. When we've been in Thailand for the last 7 weeks, the islands are really flat. I think in November I got 57 metres of elevation, which actually means I won't achieve the target this year. And it's not something I'm going to worry about. I know that I have still been really active. I've worked on the other challenge of my footsteps in the months that we were in Thailand. And I know in the winter months we don't particularly get as much height elevation going up into the mountains, so the winter months are lower. But generally over the year we try and make sure that we do maybe 1 Mount Everest within each quarter, and if we're not on track for that, we might go out for an extra hike just to boost that. So what are our top tips for taking up the Everest challenge? I suppose the first one is to just start slow and work your way up. Do your 1 Everest challenge first. You may find that you've done it within the first 6 months and just straight away challenge yourself to do that 2nd Everest within a year. But I think you'll find the more you do it and the more you just like getting out and being in the outdoors and being in the hills, you will just naturally build up your Everest challenge anyway. We get through a lot of walking shoes, so I suppose investing in a good quality pair of sturdy shoes. I tend to wear walking shoes rather than boots most of the year because I find them more comfortable and just a bit lighter, and it's making sure that they're just really comfortable to get out on long hikes. You're not limited by your footwear. And I have to say, the other thing that we've definitely invested in, particularly living in the Dales, is a good set of waterproofs, because sometimes you don't feel like getting out. We won't go out if it's absolutely chucking it down. We are definitely fair weather walkers, but we've always got a raincoat and some waterproof bottoms in just in case we get caught out on the mountains, and we have done several times. The Everest Challenge does not just need to be done in the wilds and the mountains. We have loved just getting out and about, hiking wherever we are in our camper van, whether that be the flats of Cheshire, down in Cornwall on the coastal mountain paths, or when we were up in the Shetlands. It's just great to get out, just set your watch on a hike, and the elevation does look after itself. My final top tip, which does help me, is to track my elevation gains regularly. As I said, I go onto the Strava app at the end of every month. I will kind of check how much elevation we have had. Every 3 months, I'm hoping that we've roughly done 1 Everest, and as I said, if we haven't, it might be a case that I pack Richard up into the Lake Districts in the van and we'll do a couple of hills just to keep us on track. As I said at the beginning, I set myself 2 challenges every year, and the second but no less important challenge to me is my Footsteps challenge. I suppose it's probably set on really old-fashioned data that I'd read years and years ago. You should do 10,000 steps a day to keep yourself healthy, and I've always had that in the back of my mind. So using the data that my watch gives me, it's constantly tracking my steps. I just try and make sure that by the end of the month I have done 300,000 steps at least. If I'm not anywhere close to that, I know that I have had weeks when I've maybe been feeling a bit off it, or when we've been in the Yorkshire and the weather's not been great. We'll get to the end of the month, but it does give us that little bit of an impetus to get out and just to get a bit more fresh air, make sure we get them steps in. Most months, actually, we're closer to 400,000 steps because myself and Richard, we are really active when we're out about in the camper van. But we've definitely also had times where we've got to the end of the month and we've really had to drag ourselves out to get those extra few footsteps in. And I think those extra little hikes that you do because you want to get those footsteps in do just add to that overall health benefit that I talked about right at the beginning. So that's it from Jackie's little Wellbeing Thursday slot. I just wanted to share with you how I track my data, why I do the Everest challenge, why I do the Footsteps challenge, and just some of the benefits that I felt from doing that. It does make a difference to me. It keeps me motivated. It makes a massive difference to my mental health. Being out in the fresh, open air, if I've got anything on my mind, just makes that evaporate. So it's something that anybody can do. Hopefully you might take away something from this video. You might set yourself an Everest challenge. You might set yourself a steps challenge. But the most important thing is just be active, get out and do something that you enjoy. So that's it from me. It's Richard next month. Phew, bye.